Hello.
Good afternoon, everyone. We will initiate in another 1 minute. So I think we will start our first program. Karthikeyan, we can start now. Okay. So good afternoon. Welcome to first virtual workshop on net zero for technological solutions from Singapore. Let me read about a year back. We had some discussions with Enterprise Singapore, and there were deep brainstorming about how to support Indian corporates with regard to net zero transformation. So Enterprise Singapore, CII, Indian Green Building Council decided to have joint collaboration to support Indian corporates with regard to net zero energy, net zero water, zero waste to landfill, and net zero carbon. This is our first workshop where we have introduced some of the key technologies from Singapore. They would be talking about some of the very highest repute solutions with regard to business case in net zero field. And there is a panel discussions to learn about what are the solutions which can help net zero buildings. And then we have one more technical presentation wherein there would be some unique solutions showcased here. So just to begin the program, let me have the pleasure and privilege to invite my colleague, Mr. S. Karthikeyan, Deputy Executive Director, CII Godrej Green Business Center, Hyderabad. Over to you, Mr. S. Karthikeyan.
Thank you, Shivaraj. Very good afternoon to everybody. Welcome you all for this first workshop. It's a joint workshop on the latest technologies from Singapore on net zero. It's pleasure to have you. I could see more than about 150 participants participating in this workshop. Let me also, before getting into my remarks, let me also thank Enterprise Singapore, specifically Mr. Chun Jin Moon, who has been supporting us in this process. And on all the participating companies from Singapore, there are at least about 12 innovative technologies they are participating here to showcase their technologies. Let me also give you a very brief background about this program. Of course, later on, my colleague Shivaraj and others will give you a detailed overview. You know, when we started working on this, it is aligned with India's goal of achieving net zero by 2070. That is what our Prime Minister is talking about. We have committed to make the country to achieve net zero by 2070. So obviously, if the country has to achieve net zero status, every sector should work towards achieving the net zero status. In fact, the state should work towards achieving the net zero status. The cities have to work towards achieving this status. So obviously, the buildings and the built environment, which is part of the states and cities, should work towards in achieving the net zero status. The entire supply chain related to the buildings also should cope up in terms of meeting the requirement of the buildings and built environment. So from our point of view, it's a very big goal from the nation which is committed. So obviously, we are all working towards in making the country to move towards net zero. Having said this, from the building sector point of view, the Indian Green Building Council, IGBC, formed by CII, Confederation of Indian Industry in India, we have been working on the green buildings and built environment for over 2 decades. And we have also made significant progress with the green building footprint in the country. As on date, we have more than about 10.22 billion square feet of the green building footprint in the country, which is supposed to be the second largest footprint in the world as well. So a lot of progress has been made with respect to the buildings and built environment. In fact, CII, IGBC, we have worked in such a way that we have created an ecosystem which will contribute to the growth of the green building in the country. So this is one part. Now, as a next step, okay, having made significant progress with respect to green building, the next is to make the buildings and built environment net zero. Obviously, we will be going deeper with respect to the resource efficiency. If it is, it may be related to energy, it may be related to water, it may be related to the materials and waste that is getting generated from the building. So we need to go towards achieving the net zero with respect to all these resources and ultimately contributing to the net zero carbon. That is the overall objective. So we started working on the achieving net zero in buildings and built environment. And we, in fact, launched a mission called IGBC Net Zero, Mission on Net Zero. More than about 350 organizations, they have committed that they will make their buildings and built environment net zero. But having committed to achieve net zero, how are we going to achieve? So do we have sufficient know-how in India to achieve this net zero? Do we have sufficient technologies and products to support this process? Do we have sufficient number of service providers to support this process? So if you ask a question, okay, is there an ecosystem available in India to make these buildings and built environment net zero? As of now, the development of ecosystem is in a very, very nascent stage. So our objective is to bring in the technologies and services from all over the world. That is the reason we have been collaborating with the Singapore Enterprise, and Singapore Enterprise also has shown a lot of interest in working with us. Thanks a lot to them. And then we started identifying what are the technologies who can come and work with the Indian organizations and help them in terms of achieving the net zero concepts. So we have invited close to about 12 technologies. Friends, please understand, all these technologies are very innovative, and they are going to talk about their technologies and their applications in buildings and built environment. This is a great opportunity from Indian building sector point of view. So you all find it an opportunity for you to explore the implementation in your projects. So my request to you, all the stakeholders, whoever is participating from India side, who are looking for this application, please get in touch with us. So after seeing these technologies, you may find some applications in your projects. And of course, from IGBC point of view, we would be happy to facilitate the implementation of these technologies in your projects. That is the overall objective. And with this, what I would like to highlight here is, there are certain a systematic approach that has been adopted here. As far as this workshop is concerned, it is more of an awareness creation. So these 12 technology companies, they will only present about their technologies and services. But this is not sufficient for you to straight away go and implement. So what we need to do is, we need to understand more about these technologies and services, look at the feasibility of implementation of these technologies and services in your projects, and then we need to work on in terms of the cost economics and then go ahead with the implementation. So there are multiple steps involved. In each of these steps, from IGBC point of view, we would be working with you in terms of handholding. We will work with the technology suppliers. We will also work with all the projects. Whoever is showing interest as part of this initiative, we would be happy to work with you and see till the implementation is happening. So from IGBC point of view, we would act more like a facilitator in this process. Okay. So having said this, as part of this whole initiative, we would be doing multiple activities. After these workshops, if there is a need for a further B2B meeting, it could be a business to business meeting, or if you are interested in implementing that, there could be a B2C meetings. All this we would be facilitating. And more information we would be sharing with the technology companies as well as the project proponents. So with this, we hope more projects are getting implemented, and this creates a kind of win-win situation, both for the Indian companies as well as the Singapore companies. What do we get from the Indian companies' point of view? Yes, we get the opportunities in terms of implementing the latest technologies, reduce our energy consumption, reduce water consumption, reduce waste, and ultimately move towards net zero. This net zero makes business sense for us. We would be able to reduce the cost in all these aspects. So obviously, it creates a big opportunity from Indian company point of view to move towards net zero. The second, from the Singapore company's point of view, this is an opportunity to showcase their technologies. This is an opportunity to get into the market. So this creates obviously a kind of win-win situation, and we would be happy to facilitate. So with this, let me thank all the participants, welcome all the participants, and thank for their participation. Over to you, Shivaraj. I wish all the very best. Thank you.
Thank you, Karthikeyan, for your opening remarks and setting the context. Now we would like to have a next speaker. So we are really honored to have Mr. Choon Jin Ye. Mr. Choon Jin Ye represent Enterprise Singapore. He is currently the director overseeing the Urban Solutions and Infrastructure Services Cluster Group of Enterprise Singapore. Enterprise Singapore is the government agency championing enterprise development at bilateral level. Choon Jin portfolio covers the energy, water, and waste management. And we are really happy to have Mr. Choon for this very special workshop on net zero. Over to you, please.
Thank you. And good afternoon to everyone. Deputy Executive Director, Indian Green Building Council, Mr. Karthikeyan, for your opening addresses now. Members of CII, industry partners from Singapore, ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome to our first virtual workshop on achieving net zero for the building and built environment. Now, today's workshop is actually part of Enterprise Singapore's inaugural partnership with the Confederation of Indian Industry and the IGBC to introduce technological solutions from Singapore and explore opportunities where Singapore's net zero experiences can support CII members in our journey towards achieving net zero objectives. To date, Singapore has been successful in fulfilling our pledges towards climate action. In 2020, Singapore was able to reduce our carbon emissions to 52.8 metric tons of CO2 equivalent, and this is actually equivalent to 32% below our BAU levels. This far exceeds our 2009 commitment and target of 16% below BAU levels. This success is attributed to Singapore's early actions towards sustainable development since independence. While this was in part driven by our limited natural resources, the initiatives over the past decade have created a culture of resource optimization alongside openness to adoption of new technologies. In turn, this has created an ecosystem that is conducive to development of new solutions that continue to enhance reduction in energy, water, waste, and carbon emissions. As iterated in the recent Union Budget, India's commitment to a greener future, such as its pledge to get 50% of its energy needs from renewable resources and reduce carbon emissions by 1 billion tons by 2030, goes beyond government initiatives in electrification and green hydrogen. Central to these efforts is the Indian private sector and companies who have taken up the mantle of understanding what these targets mean for its operations and work closely with knowledge partners such as CII and IGBC towards a green and sustainable business model and operations. And as we look ahead to both Singapore and India achieving net zero emissions by 2050 and 2070 respectively, we recognize the necessity for continued collective effort between international government and industries. And to this end, we are glad to partner CII and IGBC on this endeavor to foster greater collaboration between our industries, which will help advance our progress in net zero achievements, as well as accelerate technology development and adoption for climate action. I'm glad that today's workshop will showcase a range of solutions and business models from the Singapore industry, and I look forward to the sharing on implementation experiences both in Singapore and abroad. I also look forward to learning more about the developments and challenges faced in adoption of net zero solutions in India, and hope we can jointly identify and explore solutions to collaborate with the Indian industry to achieve net zero ambitions together. So with that, I look forward to a very fulfilling session for all of you, and thank you very much.
So, Mr. Choon, we are really grateful to have you today, and the kind of experience you have said, I think it will definitely help all the stakeholders. There is a collective effort. There is a need to accelerate the technology transformation, specifically in the net zero field, and working closely with Enterprise Singapore, definitely Indian corporates will get more and more leverage with that. I would request all of you to please keep your video on for a moment. We will capture one snapshot. We'll capture one group photograph because Mr. Chun has to leave. He was preoccupied, but somehow we could get his schedule today. Nikita, please capture some photographs. All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Chun. And we again looking forward to have your more and more support for this program to have a great success for India. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So to proceed further, we have our first technical presentation session. It is on innovative technological solutions for achieving net zero. There would be technologies discussed during this particular panel discussion, which are related to net zero energy. Some are related to net zero waste, and it is truly complicated subject because energy, there could be many alternates, but we will not find many alternates for waters. Similarly, there is a growing demand for energy storage. We will have one very fantastic presentation from this particular session. And finally, we are having one more discussions with from one of the expert related to consolidate services for projects so that they can aspire for net zero. So let me have the pleasure to introduce Mr. Pushkar Pradhan, who is Chief Executive Officer of Ecosense Enviro Solutions Private Limited. Mr. Pushkar has more than 20 years of rich experience in the field of waste management, energy efficiency, and sustainability advices to many big corporates and companies. He has deep expertise on net zero energy solutions. Over to you, Mr. Pushkar, and we have 10 minutes for you. Thank you.
All right, thank you. For some reason, I'm not able to. Okay, I got my screen sharing enabled now. So hope everyone is able to see my presentation. Thank you, CII and ESG, for the opportunity to be able to present over here the solutions that we bring to the table. Are you able to see my screen, by the way?
Yes, we are able to see. Please go ahead.
Great. Okay. I think it's still loading at my end. Yeah. So Ecosense Enviro was started with a vision to be able to create a better and sustainable world for future generations. That is our vision statement. And we want to achieve this by tackling issues related to the climate change. There are various verticals that we currently focus on, circular economy, climate change, and community engagement at the same time, because all these three pillars form an essential part of getting to a net zero vision and achieving that. I'm going to be focusing on some of the energy efficiency solutions and some of the quick wins that we currently are bringing to the table so that we can have a more structured discussion here. Now, typically, as an organization, when you're starting, there are three phases that every organization goes with. Whether you continue with business as usual, which means no change. There are, of course, some pros and cons associated to it. Cons are typically like losing opportunities and long-term irrelevance. Reactive one is something where there might be a initial cost that might be involved, but the con is more in terms of that you might lose out on the ROI part of it because the visibility is lost and someone else might already have jumped the bandwagon. Proactive is what actually sets the trend, wherein you are taking initiatives more on a voluntary basis. And it's very heartening to see that a lot of companies in India are actually taking the initial step without actually there being a policy and push coming through the government in a big way. But the corporates are stepping forward on their own as well. And this is a good place to start with. So let's take the first step towards net zero. We always look at solutions from three main areas. One is your quick wins, like your low-hanging fruits that could be there, the middle, medium-term goals, and even the long-term goals. So from a quick win solution, what we bring to the table here is capacity building workshops. We do it on Climate Frisk, which is an IPCC-based gamification workshop that is enabled. It basically sets the trend within the organization for employees to understand what is it that we are working towards and why climate change is so important and how it is affecting our day-to-day and how it's potentially going to look at, like how the businesses are going to change. But not only that, we also look at solutions that we bring in and align it with the sustainability strategies and the roadmap for the corporates. We look at capacity building because that's another step in terms of enabling a net zero culture within the organization. is getting employees to understand what is carbon about. How do you do the measurement? How do you do the impact assessments? And that engagement is very, very important, because without that engagement, there is a lot of times that it might be a top-down approach saying that, okay, we want to do this, but the people might be lost as to how do you achieve it. So this is where the engagement part does come in play. I would like to state here that we have an in-house built carbon tracking tool, which helps us to measure embodied and operational carbon for built environment industry. So that is something that we definitely bring used for identifying where do we stand and how do we get to a net zero building part of it. The other quick solutions that we'll be looking at is audits. Yeah, audits, we think that audit is something just like on paper, but in reality, audit definitely helps. Same like the carbon tool, right? Anything that you measure is something that you can take, you can manage. And that is the key motto. So audits help us to understand where we are and how do we get along, what are the changes that we need to bring, and, the investment involved and stuff like that. So energy audits is one step. Now, this energy audits are more potent in the sense of it's a very specific to that particular area. So it gives you an action plan of what you can do. Waste audits also are helping to map out where your waste is coming from, what type of waste and things like that. So we use our in-house tools to help companies to do that sort of a initial mapping. And of course, as part of the engagement part, we also do gamification based tools for employee engagement part. So this is more on the low-hanging fruits that I was talking about. Moving forward, I'm going to be touch basing more on the energy efficiency solution, more on the technical side of like the medium and long term, which also involves, of course, a few areas where we touch base on is energy performance contracting. So this will cover a lot of the areas listed below, like your building energy management systems, your IoT enabled energy solutions, chiller plant energy optimization tools and stuff. The way we start on this particular engagement is by doing a preliminary audit. Now, this audit can be as simple as, like looking at your utility bills and a quick walkthrough on your around your facility, gather some basic information. We'll of course have the data files on that. And based on that, we will identify what is the type of potential saving that can be achieved. Now, that being an initial one, the next step that we do is come up, if let's say there is an interest coming in from the corporate saying that, okay, yeah, this is something that we really feel can be done, then we would want to like more go further with having an investment grade audit. Now, what an investment grade audit typically does is that we look at more of an in-depth analysis of every data points that are there. And based on that, we actually prepare a more structured and detailed proposal detailing how and what we need to do, what sort of capex is involved, and what sort of rollout plan will be involved, and also talk about what sort of ROI that can be brought in. Now, key thing here is when we look at an investment grade audit, we could potentially also back it up with a financial guarantee based on certain factors, right? So that's something which is very unique. It's not there for every available with every other company, but we typically would be able to provide that sort of guarantee working with the financial institutions in India. Of course, the next steps are implementation and retrofits that happen with any of the units and the machinery that will be there. We could do a measurement and verification because that's of course very much required. Knowing that if it's going to be a financial back guarantee, then there will be a lot of verification that will be required, and it can be done by a third party, can be brought in by the companies as well for doing that sort of evaluation. And because this projects are typically a long-term projects, the ROI comes between like 2-3 years. It will be also an ongoing service in terms of monitoring the performance of the equipment and looking at how how to optimize it. And that's where the building energy management system does play a big role. So the good part over here on this particular model is that it has a positive impact on your EBITDA, and commercially, because there's a guarantee that is there, the returns are very incremental. It's recession proof. There are you can see a reduction in your utility bills. There's a reduction, of course, on the carbon footprint, because we know that energy constitutes a big chunk of our bills, specifically in the built environment or any facility management per se. Yeah, and there are digitization needs that are, of course, there. And we need to look at how do we optimize this part of the, like bring about that sort of a solution forward. So typically when we look at this area here, this is just a sample where, let's say there's an energy cost which is there already in place for a current existing building. You will see that now, it's always going to go up because there are different things that happen. The machinery has a downtrend, so the energy bills keep on increasing. Now that's where the intervention can play a big role. And when you have an intervention being brought in with sort of a backing, then we will look at how that efficiency is going to be brought in, like in terms of an ROI, which I mentioned about, like typically 2 to 5 years. And this is where you will see a continuous trend of energy bills getting saved. So that is the way this particular model works. Typically on the BMS, there's just an example slide in terms of how we put it in place. There's analytics, there's IoT involved. There is a lot of data points that are collected, and we actually customize it based on what the requirements would be. But that's a quick customization. It's also a good monitoring tool in a way. And all of that can be done remotely. So, like the staff can be trained, but at the same time, if there is any issue or any quick, let's say an urgent problem that comes up, there's a quick alert notifications that are triggered, and then the correct people are put up on the job. Now, other thing that we also bring here is, so while these are like quite a lot of capex, and you have to plan out the project part of it. We know that aircon bills in typical every building, they constitute almost like 52% of the total bills. And this is where we bring in a unique solution of the nets that we put in place. And these nets are expected to get you almost like 20-25% savings on the aircon bills. And this is a very easy to install, does not need any sort of maintenance. And the way it works is that because generally when you have the aircon units, the air in that is all positively charged, while this nets are always negatively charged. So because of that, it offsets the static electricity that is there, and it brings in more heat exchange efficiency, and in that process also helps to reduce the going on bills. And I just put in some quick tips in terms of how we can even look at reducing your current energy usages at different places, like in transport, reduce the carbon footprints. Even though some of the tips might be very obvious, I think the key thing here is that it's not every time followed. And building that culture and everything is where the capacity building, the employee engagement part plays a big role. So with that, I will end my presentation here. I really hope that we are able to work together and get to a net zero and achieve the Prime Minister's vision, as said, for India as well as for Singapore. So thank you. I left my contact details, and I look forward to hear back from anyone who's interested. I'll take up the questions later, I believe. Yeah.
Right. So thank you very much, Mr. Pushkar. What we like, the complete solution coming from your company, from your end, start from feasibility to final implementation, and also have the continuous monitoring that is so unique with regard to whatever the services you may offer to some of the Indian corporates. So we'll come back with you, and we'll proceed further for next presentation. So now we have Dr. Shailesh Kharakwal. He is the Chief Executive Officer of EnviroSense Private Limited. Shailesh Kharakwal has an renowned expert in the areas of water treatment and water treatment for specialized quality or properties which can treat the water of any kind, having generation from whether apparel factory or could be a commercial building or a factory or industry. So he has specialized solutions for every wastewater which is coming from different sources. So over to you, Mr. Kharakwal, and we really need this kind of solutions for some of the different typology of buildings where water would be coming from different sources. So sometimes it could be a challenge. So over to you. You please suggest how it could be a real mantra for all the companies to go for net zero water. Over to you, please.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Shivraj. And good afternoon to everyone in India, and good evening to everyone here in Singapore. My name is Shailesh. We work through EnvironSense, and we work thoroughly considering the ESG perspective of the companies, basically in 4 areas when we talk about the ESG perspectives. One is the wastage. In the premises or in the big corporate industries or houses, the waste is the most important thing when we talk about the sustainability, and when we talk about the reuse of the water there. What we found and observed in India, we still have inefficient STPs there, and especially for the data centers or other big industries, there is untreated blowdown water, no rainwater reuse, or suboptimal existing technologies, or lack of water uses effectiveness, which we call WUE. And in order to manage your water system well, we need to do the proper monitoring of the water quality parameters. So what would require to have calibrated, IoT integrated, AI enabled water quality monitoring sensors. And at the same time, we need to work on the reducing high capex and OPEX footprints. How we can do is to minimize the carbon footprints, to minimize the use of land, to minimize the energy uses consumptions for the treatment facilities. And finally, we need to integrate our whole water management system with an IoT enabled dashboard, so that we have proactive measurements, so that if anything happens wrong, we can deploy a team timely. So considering all these limitation and constraint and the requirement in today's scenario, we have developed EASE systems, which are basically environmentally accountable, sustainable, and energy efficient water solution systems. They are environmentally accountable because we provide real-time sensing and the automation. We extensively mitigate micropollutants and provide eco-friendly aids. What we do is provide low carbon footprint by minimizing the sewage treatment plant size or the water treatment plant size. I'm going in more detail in my next coming slide how we do it. And we provide renewable energy integration there. Our plants can be run through the solar system. So our ambition or our intention is to provide a water neutral building, or rather water positive building, so that everything works in a sustainable way. Whatever water is given to us by the municipal corporations, at one time we recycle whole water for our non-drinking purposes and also for the drinking purposes. And for this we have we have a mantra that is we call RRR. Is not the RRR movie, but is a recycle, reuse, and reduce. How we do is the recycling is through our IGBR technology, which is the state-of-the-art technology developed here at National University of Singapore, integrated growth bioreactor technology. Reuse, provide the ZLD systems or the rainwater harvesting system. Reduce is reducing the footprints and the costs. Now I'm going to show you what a net zero building accounts to us, and how we can make a building water neutral or water positive. The alternative water use plus the water returned to the building should, when we divide it with the total water use, we should always get one or more than one value. So the alternative water use is coming from from the rainwater or the treated wastewater, whatever we are recycling. When we when we add them, then the sum of it should always be higher or equal to the sum of all fresh water use, all the alternative water use. How we are going to do this, I would like to show you through a case study which we have successfully done for Nextra data centers at Pune. So at the Nextra data center at Pune, there was 3 water sources. Municipal water was coming, okay, and the one water source which is coming from the municipality, and there is alternative water source which is the rainwater. So we had made rainwater harvesting tank there. We measured the flow of municipal water coming to the premise. Then at the same time, we measured the rainwater flow also, or the water depth in the rainwater harvesting tank. And we simultaneously did the treatment of the sewage water coming out from that premise. We use that water for the non-drinking water purposes. At the same time, whatever water is coming to the sewage treatment plant and the water which is going out from the sewage treatment plant, we achieved 98% efficiency. This means only 2% of water which was made as a sludge and later used for fertilizers was only wasted. 98% water was used for the non-drinking purposes. We measured that flow. At the same time, the rainwater which is harvested, we use it for the drinking water purposes, and we use nanofiltration based technology to make it potable. So the overall premise became water neutral at the time when we have not proper rain, I mean the non-rainy seasons. But if it is a rainy seasons, 3 to 4 months, then our premise becomes water positive. So I'm going to show all these things which we have proven, not just only talking about in terms of the mandate or in terms of the ideas, but already proven there. I'm going to show you in a small clip how we did it. So it's a 5-minute clip. I would like to have your attention on that. Let me just show you. How come this is? Yeah.
This is a packaged sewage treatment plant from H2O Mantra, currently placed at Nextra Hinjewadi, Pune location. It is based on state-of-the-art IGBR-based water treatment technology with all the unit operations encompassed into one compact unit. All the functionalities are also fully automized for its operation. This is a raw sewage water sample which will be fed into the STP system for treatment. If we zoom in, we can see different unit operations such as bioremedial treatment, oxo-nanoparticle-based filtration, and secondary treatment in the form of ultrafiltration. A real-time water quality monitoring solution displays 24/7 treated water quality. As we can see, the treated water quality in this case is significantly higher than the CPCB norms, making it possible to use the water for all the non-potable applications. This is also combined with water usage efficiency monitoring system. With this high water quality of the treated water and more than 90% of the water usage efficiency, the sewage treatment plant is expected to create a positive ESG impact and moving towards making the entire facility to net zero water building. As you can see that the treated water quality is very high and it is transparent compared to the untreated water. The real-time water quality monitoring system and the water usage efficiency sensors can be integrated onto the existing IoT platform for data visualization. This holistic exercise is thus aimed at higher ESG impact and paving path towards water neutral DC site. Uncontrolled or suboptimal dosing of disinfectant for killing bacteria and antiscalant for removing hardness in data center chillers cause consumption of high amount of chemicals and subsequently higher O&M cost. In Pune data center, we observed chlorine and hardness monitoring have been done indirectly using some empirical methods. Therefore, for providing exact free chlorine and calcium hardness concentrations in real time, we integrated our state-of-the-art free chlorine and hardness sensors. These sensors are integrated with the IoT dashboard and provide real-time value of the parameters. Using the AI integration and trigger mechanisms in IoT dashboard, we shall be able to control dosing of pumps for optimal use of chemicals and hence save the O&M. The IoT web dashboard is simple and interactive in usage.
So not going
This
in
is a
much
device
detail
map for showing
here.
sensor location.
So that was the, idea to show you how we recycle the water, and at the same time we reuse that water. We measured the water reuses efficiency there, and at the same time we minimize the footprint. The whole water treatment plant which you have seen is a size of two car parking lot for two cars basically, and in that size we will be able to treat around 50,000 of sewage water, and we change it to a ultra pure water which can be used for non-potable purposes. We can use this for potable purposes also, which we have been doing here in Singapore, but for mindset we kept it for using for non-potable purposes. So that is the IoT platform, how we did it, and the rainwater harvesting system, how we are able to make potable water from the harvested rainwater. So the technology behind this, when I talk about minimizing the footprint, minimizing the energy efficiencies, and increasing the treatment efficiencies, the technology behind this is the microporous biofilm carrier, which provide high surface areas and minimizes the hydraulic retention time. Micro nano bubble flotations provides retention time of bubbles, higher retention times of bubble inside the treatment tanks, hence decrease the basically the energy uses. And at the same time, we have Efflupure biological treatment consortium, which is able to treat any type of wastewater, either it's coming from the textile industry, from the data centers, from pharma industries, or any other industries.
Excuse me. Yeah, Dr. Siles, actually we have already about 12 minutes now.
Sure. So these are the few results which we can discuss later personally. And this is the comparative analysis, how this technology is better. So our core strength is basically our highly experienced technical team, which include me, Professor Hao Yong, Dr. Kaushal Sagar, and the Chitrung. This makes a good mixture of technical backgrounds for providing you basically water neutral buildings and other technologies. So that's all about us. And please feel free to contact me. We can explore this more. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Siles. I think water neutrality is gaining good traction in India, and there are several corporates those have approached IGBC to achieve the net zero water certification. But certainly we will connect you with more and more stakeholders as and when we have this kind of workshop. Thank you for your good presentation.
Sure, thank you.
Now we have our next presenter, Mr. Lim Ming Chiat from Gen Plus Private Limited. Mr. Ming Chiat is the Managing Director of Gen Plus Private Limited. He has over 10 years of experience in the field of battery solutions and energy storage system. Core focus is integrated energy storage with renewable. Over to you, Mr. Ming.
Thank you. Please wait. Let me share my screen. Yep. I hope you are able to see my screen.
Yes, we are able to see. Please go ahead.
Yeah. So good afternoon to everyone. I'm Ming Chiat. I'm the Managing Director for Gen Plus, and today I'm going to share with you on this topic of viability of energy storage and solutions for net zero building. Okay. So let's start with what is energy net zero building. So basically, the amount of energy used by the building per year is equal to the renewable energy generated by the buildings or being utilized by the energy in the same year, and thus there's no energy that's being drawn from other sources, non-renewable energy sources such as from fossil fuel or from the grid that is being powered by fossil fuel or coal. That is the definition of net zero energy building. Well, next is energy storage. Energy storage we define it as a medium that is able to capture energy, store it for indefinite period of times, or in some cases finite period of time. And they consist of several types of media, such as mechanical storage, mechanical energy storage, electrical storage, such as supercapacitor, electrochemical, such as battery itself, thermal, as well as chemical, such as hydrogen, which is everybody is very excited about nowadays. Rechargeable batteries is currently one of the more common storage in the market, and it can be deployed in commercial and industrial scales. So today we will talk we'll focus on using battery system as the storage medium. So how energy storage works and helps to achieve a net zero building. So imagine a building, a net zero buildings. You have your load and you want to power it. So typically you will draw your power from the power grid, and that's how a normal building will work. In the case of net zero buildings, you draw additional power sources from other renewable energy sources, such as solar energy. You could also draw from wind or some other sources. And the energy storage come in place because, okay, first of all, the solar energy has intermittency, so you can't predict when it's going to generate the power and when it's not. Energy storage comes in play by storing excess energy when the solar panel is producing excess power, and they store it inside the energy storage system itself. When the solar is not producing any power, let's say due to cloud coverage, or is producing less than ideal optimum power, the energy storage itself will actually discharge power to compensate for the power required by the building itself. In doing so, what you're trying to do is to reduce the amount of power that you are drawing from the grid itself, and that is one of the strategy that you can actually use to achieve a net zero building. So one of the very key components in making this whole thing work is energy management system. So the energy management system itself monitor a few things. It monitors the building loads. It calculates how much energy is being generated from the solar or other renewable energy sources, and it determines if it should store those excess energy into the energy storage, or it should let those energy be used for the load in the building. And then finally, it also monitors how much power it's drawing at the same concurrently from the power grid itself, so that minimum power is actually being drawn from the power grid. So this is how a net zero building can be achieved. So next slide is what are the factors that we need to consider when we look into a net zero building. So firstly is the building consideration. So load capacity, that is one of the first thing. How much load the building requires, and whether there is sufficient land available for the deployment of renewable energy assets to cover the load. And of course, one of the very important thing is the cost of the renewable energy assets. And this is one of the reasons that we need to assess whether using solar is the best, using wind or some other renewable energy generation sources is most viable in the deployment location. Okay, next is the renewable energy sources itself. Correct sizing has to take into the overall loads that is being used by the building itself, whether the given land space is sufficient to build renewable and generations device that is big enough to support the whole load. And you have to take into considerations of the energy generations, the fluctuations due to seasonal change of weather. In solar energy, certain months you have more solar energy. You have more exposure to the clouds, to the sun, and so all this will change the amount of energy being drawn per year. So next, the energy storage itself. The optimum sizing of the energy storage is important. It does not mean that a very big storage device is always good. Energy storage can be optimally sized. It could be smaller than what is really required, or what you perceive as required, and that is more than sufficient for the usage of the building. So one of the considerations in the optimized sizing is definitely the usage profile. What is the intended use of the building? what is the load profile in the day versus the night time. So these are important considerations for deciding what is the optimized sizing for the energy storage system. Another considerations for energy storage itself is always the life cycle ownership cost. Different energy storage system has different characteristics, and that will actually affect the life cycle cost, the life cycle of the build of the batteries, and the performance of the batteries. So it does not mean that I always go for the best, the highest energy density battery, or I go for the most powerful, the battery that can output the most amount of power, because depending on your load requirements, different type of battery, different type of performance of the batteries will actually affect the longevity of the battery cell itself. So finally, the power grid itself, of course, the cost of the tariff, the local regulations by power authority is very important in establishing a net zero building. Okay, that's all I have for today. And just to introduce GenPlus, we are founded in 2013. This year it's our 10 years. And for the past 10 years, we have been working into energy storage systems and renewable energy solutions. So we provide turnkey solutions for renewable energy solutions to our partner and our clients, particularly in the areas of energy storage deployment. So we are located in Singapore, and definitely we are very close to India. So if you do have any inquiry or do have any questions for us, we'll be happy to engage you. Yeah, this is my contact information, and you can get from the event organizer as well. So that's all I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Meng. It was really interesting to hear your presentation, how different energy sources can be well integrated and buildings or project can achieve net zero. And energy storage is a big area to consider for all the project to become net zero. So we have next presentation. We would like to invite Mr. S. Sathiraj, Consultant Data Center and Building Infrastructure, Integratech Private Limited. Mr. S. Sathiraj has more than 30 years of rich experience working in different countries, including India, Libya, Saudi Arabia, Oman, in building automation, as well as energy management services. Over to you, Mr. Sathiraj. You have 10 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Shivraj. Do you see this presentation, please?
We can see, but we would request you to please put this on full screen mode or presentation mode.
Okay. Now it's okay, sir?
Yeah, great to go.
Thank you very much. We are from Integratech. We will be talking now. I will be briefly going through the optimization of building performance, and I will be covering these are the points like Integratech, just a brief introduction, and net zero and building performance and liquid leak detection systems, and Integrity AI. This is one of the AI and ML based software developed by Integratech and implemented in energy management solutions. Then later we'll go for question and answers. So Integratech established in 2003, and it is in Singapore. And then Integratech is involved in software services and IT infrastructure, and they have a good team of software engineers and managers. And basically they work in the banking sector. And later in 2020 onwards, they diversified into built environment solutions with IIoT sensors to address water leak detection and smart energy management solutions, PV solar systems, and as well as immersive cooling systems also for data centers. So Integra Tech has developed AI and ML based HVAC energy management system for built environment and as well as for energy optimization. So these are the water leak detection systems and hydrocarbon leak detection systems and acid leakage detection systems can be used in any the active building environment like data centers, critical infrastructure, hospitals, and pharma industries. And regarding indoor air quality, we also concentrate on indoor air quality thanks to the corona effect. Because of corona, there is a lot of requirement for maintaining indoor air quality, especially in hospitals and operation theaters. So indoor air quality to be maintained so that the infection is kept at a check. So in net zero, we are having scope 1 emissions. These are the low-hanging fruits where we can measure directly the fuel, and then we can calculate how much fossil fuels we are using. And then, of course, you have scope 2 and scope 3 emissions. So we collect data for the scope 1 and scope 2 through the real-time metering using IIoT sensors. And for scope 3, we get the data from others. And as per the requirement, we need to have a ESG reporting, statutory requirement. So all the data, whatever we collected through our SCADA solutions or building management solutions, you can transfer it to ESG reporting format also. Coming to leak detection system. So the leak detection systems, we give it for 3 applications. One is for water, another one is for hydrocarbon. Because in a built environment, we are using DG sets in case as a backup source. So fuel tanks are used, DG sets are used, and fuel pipelines are there. So to avoid leakage of hydrocarbon from the point of view of safety as well as from the point of view of monitoring the fuel consumption, we can detect. Now we can go for a leak detection system. And leak detection systems are used widely in data centers. Integra Tech has already supplied leak detection systems for Indian data centers, especially the data centers promoted by or constructed by Larsen & Toubro. So these are the application areas where the water leak detection, the data center, battery rooms. In battery rooms, acid detection is also there. Even we also supply H2 sensors because hydrogen is getting released while battery charging and discharging. And generators, public commercial buildings, laboratories, and hospitals. In all these areas, we have this, we have application for leak detection. And then the type of leak detection, whatever we are using, is called rope sensors. So the rope sensors are lined along the piping, and then these are the piping and joints where all the potential leak can happen. And then they are also having a monitoring panel. And this is a digitally addressable system. And another important point about this sensor is it's a reusable sensor. once it is detecting, it can be reused after cleaning this part which has been wetted by the product. And we can also locate the leak point with an accuracy of ±1 meter. And another facility is you can put the layout of the building and the floor plan of the building, and then where all this cable is getting connected and where all the sensing points are there, so that we can exactly the technician can go and attend to the leak. So these are the features. It can pinpoint the location with the ±1 meters, and then hydrocarbon. It is all qualified for ATEX or hazardous area certifications. It is qualified, and of course, all the cables are all addressable. So hopefully, like fire and gas detectors, all this the cables are all addressable, so that it is easy for you to locate. And these are the users. All over the world they are using TTK cable. We are representing TTK. TTK is the manufacturing plant in France, and then we the TTK has already supplied an Equinix, and then Facebook, Google, all the NTT data centers. You can name any big data center or building, TTK cables you can find. And another important aspect of TTK is 10-year warranty is given for the cable for the sensors. And then the response time is also quick. Within a matter of a few seconds, you will be able to sense the leak. So the references are there for around 64 countries, and then it has got a track record of say 30 years. So Integrity AI, this is a software developed by Integra Tech. This software basically receives the data from sources, and then it does the pre-processing of data with a rule-based engine. And then the rule-based engine is developed using Python. And then it's building a model, and then the model is being tested and improved with data repeatedly. And then using this model, outcome will be predicted, and then intervention will be suggested to change the set points of the control so that optimization can happen. So, for example, if you are having a conventional system, this will be the parameter travel or the journey around the upper limit and the lower limit. And then if you use a AI and a ML enabled system, it will be well within the limits, and over the time it will improve, and then this variation or the variation will be limited.
So, Ms. Santiraj, I think you have already completed. We are already running late now.
Okay.
So we have some questions from some of the participants. I would like to invite first Pushkar. Pushkar, are you there? Yes. So one attendee has asked one question to you. What material you have used in aircon filter, which is there for energy efficiency? Please don't take much time because we are running late.
Sure. Yeah, it's some minerals that I used basically for deionizing as well as for creating a negative charge on that. But it's a patented product, so that's why not much is disclosed at this point.
Okay, thank you. Then we have one question to Mr. Ming. What is the life of battery which you are using in your energy storage solutions? Ming, are you there? Mr. Lim Ming, are you there? someone has asked, like, what is the life of battery which you have been using in energy storage solutions? Okay, if not, then we will end up this session. But we're really enjoying listening all these technologies which are so robust with regard to net zero, energy, water, waste, and carbon. And if any of the attendees have some specific questions, clarifications with regard to these solutions, please try to contact my colleague Nikita. Already our email is there in the email. Please try to contact, and we will connect you with these technical service providers. Sorry. Okay, so we would have one panel discussion that is particularly on business models for project to aspire net zero energy, water, waste, and carbon. And we have Mr. Jujar S. Kothari, Managing Director of Culture Consultant Private Limited. He would moderate the session. Mr. Jujar Kothari has more than 30 years of experience in industrial energy efficiency as well as green buildings. He has been working very closely with IGBC from last 2 decades. Over to you, Mr. Jujar Kothari, for this particular panel discussion. Please take this forward.
Thank you, Shivraj. Thank you. So, as we have discussed in the panel, we will start off with a 3-minute presentation by each of the panelists, and then we will take on 3 questions to the panelist, followed by at the end, followed by a summary and more question-answer session. But before we jump into the panel discussions, let me first thank IGBC and Enterprise Singapore for putting together this power-packed, high-content workshop of select Singaporean enterprises. And whatever we have listened till now has been very, very interesting and very revealing. Some of them are technologies which India needs to achieve our ambition of 2070 to be net zero. As I understand, the purpose of this workshop is to connect organizations aspiring to achieve net zero to organizations who can provide ready-made, time-tested solutions to achieve the net zero ambitions. So it is a B2B platform, and in all our aspirations of achieve net zero, we truly need some real disruptive technologies to race this climate change which is taking over all of us. In this race of climate change, I think net zero is the best step forward. Why so? To me, there are 4 points why net zero is the most optimum step towards mitigating climate change. Point number 1, net zero clearly makes business sense. Point number 2, it gives organizations a tangible goal to achieve. Point number 3, it is in line with future statutory requirements. And point number 4, it contributes to community and the society at large. So I think net zero goal is the answer today to make sure that we as enterprises are profitable and at the same time work towards mitigating climate change. As you all are aware, there are 4 net zeros to aim for: net zero energy, net zero carbon, net zero water, and net zero waste. And in this panel discussion, we will cover some parts of all these 4 net zero to help you in your journey to achieve net zero goals for your own organizations. So with this, we will introduce our first panelist. He is Dr. Mahesh Sachitanandam from Crosslinker Pte. Limited. He is the co-founder and director innovation and engineering at Crosslinker. He is a very experienced CTO with a demonstrated history of working in aerogel research startup and commercialization in the last 8 years. His area of expertise is design and manufacture of aerogel-based insulating material and products. So welcome, Dr. Mahesh, and the floor is yours for 3 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jesser. Good afternoon to everybody here. I would like to share my screen. So I'm a co-founder of CrossLinker, and we are a material science startup company. So we are in the innovation space of developing aerogel and aerogel types of products. And it is our vision and mission to introduce aerogels to many mainstream verticals and to also ensure it's able to benefit from its most interesting properties. So Quintero is our product name, and it is a key integrator to many of these applications that you can see on the screen. But in particular, I'm going to touch on daylighting and skylighting and how it can actually benefit in the buildings and in particularly green buildings. As you can see from the pictures, these are our Quintero particles, which we have filled it in a corrugated panel. You can see the transparent looking aerogel particles across different lines. So these aerogel particles have very interesting properties that they are able to diffuse light that are coming in from the solar or from the sun from outside. At the same time, it's also able to reduce the heat that is being transmitted through this panel. And to a certain extent, the noise is also reduced. So there is several benefits that you can see from just using an aerogel particles. In Singapore, the green building initiatives are usually endorsed and regulated by BCA, Building and Construction Authority. And they have actually set a limit on the RETV values of buildings for residential, which is set at 25 watt per meter square. So using our aerogels in a whole plethora of building materials such as the panels for daylighting or even in a cement mixture or as a plaster on a render system, we are able to reduce by 2 watt per meter square. What does this mean in terms of CO2 carbon emission? It means a lot. Just by reducing 1 watt per meter square, we are actually targeting to reduce 1,900 tons of CO2 equivalent. And and this is being studied on a feasibility study for on a 6,000 meter square building, where the study was conducted on opaque wall and the coefficients of SHGC as well as SC through the windows as well as through the walls and the learning about the heat conduction, solar radiation, as well as the convective heat transfer. Above, there are pictures that are shown, 2 pictures. This is actually using one of the light panel in our office where we actually put this daylight panel and we can see 2 different versions of the shading coefficient. You can see they are mildly shaded where on the left hand side, the picture shows a bright illumination of the room. Whereas without the daylighting panel, you can see a very concentrated lighting effect in the room. So for architects and builders who are very interested in using daylighting as part of an aesthetic view, you can look at it at the bottom picture where it is used in a room. Clearly, it is using the natural light to illuminate the room itself. This saves not only energy in terms of consumption, it is also saves energy in terms of heat transmission and the cooling load or the thermal load that exists in the room itself. We also provide other building materials such as panel forms, which we would be willing to share or more than happy to share its properties. And it is highly insulating, thin and lightweight, mechanically robust, fire resistance. It is a potential alternative to any of the glass wool or rock wool products.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Mahesh, and thank you for this presentation. By the time the audience asks a few questions, I have a question for you. Is how do you apply this? I mean, if it's between the two panes of glasses, how do you apply the aerogel in between that? Do you have to go to the manufacturer to do that? How is it done?
Okay, so we provide the design and the solution. So if it's between the two double glass panels, we are able to fill it with the aerogel particles through a certain process, such as vacuuming or through a feeding stock. So these are some of the solutions that we provide for the manufacturers. So it will be very interesting for us to engage with several of these glass manufacturers who are able to use this as a use case in any of their building projects.
Okay. And I mean, how's the views after you put the aerogel? I mean, I can see in the photograph that there is some opacity. How is the views?
The transmittance value or the luminous value is about 60%. Definitely, there is some view that is being blocked from outside. So, which is why we recommend that use it as a part daylighting, part clear transparent. So we can also try to improve the transparency of the panel. We have other means of how to increase the transparency. For example, we can use a thinner lamination on the board, which will reduce the opacity of the panel.
Okay. Nikita, do we have questions from the audience?
Yes, sir. So we have one question by Neha. So she wants to understand how is this product usable in naturally ventilated buildings?
How is this product usable in a naturally ventilated building? Is that the question?
Yes.
Yes.
So it depends on how we can use this. In a naturally ventilated building, it can be used as a panel louvers, just as how we see it in the windows as a window. We can do that. We can also use it as a skylighting, so it's on the rooftop. So there are possible ways of using this product. So when you use it as a skylight, we are able to get the maximum benefit of natural light into the room, as well as also leaving it to natural ventilation.
And I think more important, glare control.
Yes.
Good.
Yes. So we have another question. So can we use the aerogels as a retrofit for the existing building? So are there any applications when it comes to existing building stock?
Yes, aerogels can be used as a facade structure on an existing building that is come as a rigid panel. So it is more for heat insulation. That can be done. So if there's any existing building that is going through a reconstruction or renovation, then it is able to use it as a partition in the walls or in the room as well.
Dr. Mahesh, I have one follow-up question on this. You know, when we do when we look at existing buildings, we find that there are certain portions of the facade which put in a lot of heat inside. Is it possible to spray those portions with aerogel and reduce the heat ingress?
Yes, it is possible. So we have also developed an aerogel-based render. So that is something that can be used as a rendering system or a plaster system on the wall itself. So it gives a coating of about 5 to 10 mm of protection. So that inhibits heat transfer through that part of that wall. Obviously, it would also means that the thickness of the wall is slightly increased, but overall, there will be a better heat reduction into the room.
And it can be an external application?
Yes, it can. it can be done on the external facade as well.
Good. Thank you, Dr. Mahesh. It was very interesting, and I would love to get more details about your product. We ourselves do much work on this, and I see multiple applications for your product in many areas in India.
Thank you. Be
Thank you
happy
so
to
much.
share on a call or separately, or do feel free to ask further questions. Yeah.
Sure. I think our audience will also love to get in touch with you later and ask. Please be there. Maybe towards the end, again, if we have some time, we'll take more questions.
Okay.
Yeah. Nikita, we'll go to the next speaker.
Yes.
Yeah. Welcome, Mr. Rupesh Umtol. He's from QI Square PT Limited. He's the co-founder and director of QI Square PT Limited. He has 24 plus years of experience working on building design, mechanical and industrial engineering, and expertise in building energy performance monitoring technologies. So welcome, Mr. Rupesh, and over to you now. 3 minutes for your presentation.
Thank you. There would be some background noise because I'm sitting in an open sort of an terrace. Okay, so please excuse me for that.
No problem.
I hope my screen is visible.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry. So at Chi Square, we have developed something for basically the energy analysis for the existing building only, right? So we called it as a Better Life. Better Life is basically an online platform, okay, to analyze what could be the energy enhancement possible in buildings, and this we have basically launched only in Singapore right now. So we want to give this sort of a tool to all consultants, ESCOs, product manufacturers, architects, and building owners, basically for getting an energy enhancement in their existing buildings. Okay, so we all know the problem, right? How to have energy efficiency or how to make a building green. And there's a lot of work been done on digitization. Okay, it's work in progress. And we are the one who are also working towards, having a digital platform. So it's like for buildings, most of the data are available with all these stakeholders, building stakeholders, the building owners, the consultants, ESCOs. Okay, and there is few data sets which are available with product manufacturers, right? And Green Finance is also looking for, a detailed analysis, verified analysis for those buildings. So we have created a platform which can be used for all these stakeholders. They can basically put in the data available with them, particularly for any specific building, okay, and do the energy analysis for that building. So they will get a base case scenario for that particular building and the best case scenario for energy enhancement. So it's an AI-enabled digital platform. Okay, there's a data input from various stakeholders. Okay, and the platform analyzes based on all the artificial intelligence and machine learning capabilities of the platform. Okay, and gives the result. We are also working on a fully digital assessment for carbon analysis, okay, all as well as financial analysis, due diligence. Chi Square is basically a spin-off from NTU from Singapore, and we also have a good association with BCAs. So once you log in on the Better Life, this is what you see. So on the right hand side is a view of basically Better Life platform. Okay, when you click on the building turns blue, and the data sets are open on the left hand side. You can verify the data set, the data set which are already there on the platform, and you can maybe change them, enhance them if you know the building very well, okay, and do the analysis. So it's basically a sort of an subscription-based platform. We have included all the data sets related to energy and building construction for almost 20,000 buildings in Singapore. So right now the platform is only launched in Singapore, but we are also working on cities in India like Mumbai, Pune, Bangalore, and Delhi. So it's a tool for basically doing an energy analysis very quickly. Okay, if it's like within an hour you can do the building analysis. Okay, and if you are an expert, maybe energy sort of a consultant, you can do more buildings in a shorter time. We want to basically, have develop these, tools in future. Okay, and we want to have partners with IoT suppliers, certification bodies. Okay, then we are also working on integrating beam modeling into the platform where the data sets can be extracted from the models. Okay, that is it.
Thank you, Mr. Rupesh. Very interesting. All of us are looking at something like a ChatGPT in our built environment business. I hope your tool comes true to that. It looks going in that direction. So before the audience ask a few questions, there is a lot of talk about digital twinning, which is going on. Could you explain, because I think you are somewhere in that realm, could you explain what is digital twinning and how would it help, and whether your platform would be in a position to do that?
Yes. So digital twin, as we know, there are two. One is static and one is dynamic, right? So static is utilized by construction companies. So static is basically a BIM model for that particular building, and dynamic is the one which we create on simulation softwares for energy analysis. So we started basically, the concept of the platform is from digital twin itself. Okay, so for Singapore, what we have done is we did pilot projects on simulation software, that is a digital twin thing, and we cross-checked our platform's ability, basically putting in the similar data sets, okay, without creating a model on the simulation platform. So obviously, digital twinning is a time-consuming process, and it needs an expertise, okay, who has known these softwares very well, okay. But platform like us would be a simplified tool working on digital twin concept for energy, analysis.
Good. So how does it work? I mean, say if I have a building here in India and I want to use your platform, how long would it take for us to model this building and export all the required data into your platform?
Yeah, so what we have done is we have plugged in the 3D maps, okay, 3D map of the cities. Okay, so right now you see a Singapore city map, right, 3D map. So similarly, we will incorporate all the 3D maps, okay, all of the cities where we will launch this platform. So once you click on the building, there would be a certain data set about that building which are verified by us, like the construction year, the building type, construction type, okay, the system, HVAC system type, all those verified data would be there. But still, if you are owner of the building, you know very well what you have done for that particular building, right? So if the data sets included in the platform is a little bit wrong, you can basically cross-check, alter those things and do the analysis. So it's a very, very easy thing. Okay, once we launch in maybe Mumbai, you can click on your Mumbai building and insert the data set. So it's basically a pick and choose sort of a thing. So platform has already predefined data input which you'll have to put in. For an example, it's like what is the construction area, what is the construction type, which type of system, HVAC system you have, okay, whether you have done some energy efficiency thing in the building, whether you have done some modification in the building or not. That's it.
Excellent. Any questions from the audience, Nikita?
Yes, sir. So Mr. Amit is asking whether we could elaborate about what types of analysis the platform can do.
Yes, so this is based on definitely a digital twin concept. So it's a detailed energy analysis for the building, considering the entire holistic building. Okay, it doesn't consider only the HVAC system or lighting system. It also considers the building envelope. Okay, sort of anything. So right, Dr. Mahesh did a presentation for his product, right? So we can incorporate that product calculations into the platform and give basically a tab that if you use their product, what could be the energy saving for that particular building, okay, or what could be the daylight enhancing in that particular building. Obviously, the backend calculation has to be done with defined input data input for that particular product.
Mr. Rupesh,
question. Do we have time, or do we look back in the end?
I think we are running short on time. I'm getting messages down saying that we are really short, but I think, Mr. Rupesh, this panel is too short to do justice to your.
Yeah, right.
I think we need a much more detailed presentation. I am myself. I'm very passionate simulator.
Yeah.
And I can understand what you are talking about, and I can understand the complexity of that.
Right.
We would look forward to talking to you again.
Yeah.
So thank you so much.
You will have to excuse me because I have to do another presentation here, okay, on decarbonization. So I'll have to log off.
Fine. Okay. Thank you very much, Mr.
Thank you.
So we have the last panelist, Mr. Deepak Kumar Ji. Deepak and I are colleagues earlier, so I know him well. Deepak is the General Manager Product Development at the Oriana Venture Pte. Limited. He has 25 plus years of working experience on environment and clean technology segment with expertise in wastewater treatment solutions. So over to you, Deepak.
Thank you, sir. So I just try to put it in next 3 minutes what best information can be shared with the audience. Oriana Ventures, we are a technology-based organization trying to develop relevant platforms to deliver advanced environment management products and solutions. We are 60% owned by Singapore families. That's how actually we got into this platform. And straight getting into the crux of the whole discussion, net zero water, because we are basically into water, STP, sewage treatment plants. To set the context, the pain points of any builders, we can list it down like this. We need quality. We need to use cutting edge technology. We also have to have good vendors on board. And then end of that, we should be operating it with ease and also maintaining it with ease towards meeting the compliance of local norms, regulations, everything. So on the top of doing all these things, we have the pressure. The builder has the pressure also to meet net zero targets. It's not pressure, as the context was set well by Mr. Juza, that it's good to do a net zero energy, water, waste, carbon. It's good to do a net zero building in this trend of climate change. So obviously everyone is trying to do that, but not at the hit of all these things: so quality, cost, technology, good vendor, and compliance. So we as a company, we are actually capable to address all these. I'm not getting into the sub points written under the headers. So we have that ability to deliver and meet all these things to also meet net zero. So now, what is that we are trying to offer differently? So basically, we are a company have been delivering sewage treatment plants for more than 2 decades or so. So traditional model of managing STPs has seen a very tremendous failure in terms of consistent operation and delivery. We all know that around 60 to 70% of the STPs in the country are non-operational. So it is actually, as a builder of STP, the EPC is the only scope so far. So what we are trying to offer different is also an integrated approach where we have developed a smart module which is trying to address the traditional issue of maintenance, skilled manpower, cost. So we are trying to bring down the cost of deploying this smart module. So in addition to the EPC, we are also interested to manage the whole plant, operate and maintain by deploying the smart module. So that is one. The other solution to look at it is total STP solution, wherein EPC plus smart total operation and maintenance. In addition to that, the financing and access to the users, largely for the existing, for example, for the existing STPs. If we look at the NGT norms, set in the year 2019, it calls for a very stringent levels of parameters like COD, BOD, total nitrogen, E. coli, everything. So with the existing STP setup to meet those parameters, it's a very humongous task, both in terms of technology as well as to access the finance and then to meet the NGT norms. So here we are actually interested to get into the financing part also and then manage the whole STP, looking at connecting the treated water also with the right purpose of use. So otherwise, actually investing on that will not really benefit. So it's a creating a whole ecosystem. So
thanks.
So
yeah, Deepak, we are a bit short on time so that you can wrap up in 30 seconds.
Oh, sure. So looking at how we are trying to align with IGBC perspective is again design from the design, construction and operation stage. We are looking at designing the suitable sewage treatment plants and also to harness the alternate water and connecting the alternate water with the right use 100%. Maximum of 40-50 within the campus, but remaining 50% also, how do we connect it with the right purpose is actually delivering the whole business model. And we have few case studies. Yeah, I know we are running short of time. Yeah, thanks. And I can take questions and try to address.
Thanks, Deepak. I think you touched the core. You know, there are STPs and STPs in India, but none of them run properly. So just what technology or what do you do differently by which your STP will run better or it will run without too much of expert supervision?
Correct. So we are not developing altogether a new technology of STP in the market. There are technologies like SBR, MBBR, MBR. So we are actually developing a module which takes care of remote monitoring, remote management of plant, which needs less skilled manpower. Today, if you look at anyone, they are not interested to invest on skilled manpower. That is a huge cost for running it. And end of it, spending that cost, there is no take for the treated water or whatever. So connecting that with deploying the smart module, make the efficiency of operations and also connecting the treated water with the right purpose is the whole business model we are looking at.
Okay, thanks. Thank you. Thank you. Any questions, Nikita, from the audience?
Yeah, so we can quickly take this one. Can STP make the water safe for drinking?
Yes, actually in Singapore, I think they are using 100% drinking water coming out of, not 100%, to a considerable amount of drinking water coming out of sewage treatment plants. Yes, it is possible.
And Deepak, do you have some sort of a SaaS model? Because I saw financing written there. How do you connect? Can you just give our audience a quick idea of what is your finance model?
So finance model, it's like not only EPC, it's like a boot model. We are interested in a boot model. So we are investing and then taking the water back, connecting that water with the right use. For example, the use of treated water for cooling towers is one of the prominent industrial applications. So wherein it has a business value. So in that sense, we are evolving a model wherein we are ready to invest and take back the water, connecting it with the right purpose and make revenue out of that.
Good, thanks. Nikita, any questions for last? One more question we'll take for Deepak.
Okay, so is your remote monitoring tool, can it be used for existing STP plants?
Yes, actually, see, largely the module which we have developed, that smart module, is very much compatible for the existing plants, existing SBR technology, MBBR technology, all these plants, this module is compatible.
Okay, so I think we can move forward to the next session.
Good, good. Thank you very much, Deepak. Thank you, Dr. Mahesh. And Mr. Rupesh is not there. I really enjoyed talking to all of you, and I'm sure our audience also enjoyed it. We don't have time to take questions, but obviously we would request all our audiences to get in touch with y'all offline and see how we can use the good work that you have done in India for our buildings and built environment. Thank you very much. Thank you, Shivraj.
So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Jujar, for moderating this particular session. And we really enjoyed to listen your Q&A session with regard to all the technology suppliers. And I think you should take more and more help from Aerosol, because you also consult with like many projects to achieve the net zero, to aspire the net zero. So maybe this kind of technology can be penetrated much in the market, so that there would be more benefit to the end users. Thank you, everyone. And now we are running very short of time, but we'll immediately start the next session. It is technical session number 2, and we are primarily talking about technological and business models for net zero building and built environment. To begin with, we will have Mr. Siva Subramaniam. He is the director of Rice Renewable Private Limited. Nikita, can you please display the slide? And Rice Renewable provides end-to-end renewable energy solutions for net zero projects, primarily dealing in BIPVs, building integrated photovoltaic system. Nikita, can you please share the slide?
Slide is sharing, Shiva.
Okay. Just a moment.
Are you unable to see it?
I think we can't see. No problem. I think Mr. Siva, you can start. We have discussed some time back with you. You provide end-to-end solutions for BIPVs, and this is really a critical area because many buildings are having good window to wall ratio, and if we integrate the BIPV, it will help in both the ways with regard to reduce the heat gain, at the same time also have renewable generation there. Over to you, please.
Right, thank you so much. I believe you can see my screen now. Can you see my screen? Hello?
Yeah, I think I'm not able to see it. Nikita, can you see?
Yeah, even I am not able to see.
Okay, let me try sharing again.
Yeah, can you just change your map?
Because still we are able to see the slide which Deepak presented earlier.
Okay, let me try sharing my desktop completely and perhaps it can work.
Yeah, can you just try to share again now, please?
Okay, I'll try again.
Actually, I stopped sharing it, so it's not.
Yeah, right now no one's sharing. So if Mr. Shiva, can you share?
Work now?
I can see it. Yes.
Okay, right. I understand this is
if you could just please put it on your PPT mode as well.
How about now?
Yeah, sure. Perfect.
Right, so I understand we are running short of time. I'll try to make it as simple and crisp as possible. Right, so about us, personally about me, I have more than 10 years of solar PV system integration. Rice Renewables, we operate in 4 verticals: research, integration, consulting, and engineering. So research is something that we work on new product development. So there are companies we are partnering here in Singapore, and they have innovative solutions, and we stick together with them and try to, get their models really taking shape. So we support with techno-commercial feasibility studies here, and we support them with all the necessary inputs necessary for getting this manufactured. So these are this is the research vertical. Integration, this is typical system integration. We do rooftop PV system integration as well as system integration for BIPV projects. In consulting, this is one of the important segments for us. When it comes to BIPV, it's a bit challenging compared to conventional PV systems. A lot of safety, regulatory, and building-related aspects that have to be factored inside. And we have expertise in BIPV, and we share this expertise as a consulting scope. So this means we try to identify what is a feasible solution. We try to understand, we try to put a cost to it, and then we give a complete techno-commercial value addition to our clients. And engineering, which is the last one, this is actually for the bigger scale projects. more than 1 megawatt, wherein we work with project developers, solar PV project developers. We help them with the complete engineering, design, and drafting work. So these are the 4 verticals we are operating at. And the concept that I'm bringing to Singapore, from Singapore to India, is the consulting mandate for BIPV projects. Okay, as I mentioned, BIPV is our expertise. So building integrated PV, in the sense, what does BIPV means is, if a portion of PV is applied onto the building and if that is removed, the building will lose some of its purpose. So in the sense, it's really integrated to the building. So when PV being removed from the building is incomplete. So that's how it's a quick way of understanding BIPV solutions. A typical application could be a skylight system, similar to here, where you see a canteen, cafeteria, wherein PV is actually part of the roof. And we have the facade systems, wherein there's a light transmission or vision area, curtain walls, and so on. It's possible to integrate PV there, and the walkways, the canopy systems, and there are some kind of balustrades and so on, which I'll explain the subsequent slides. So what we bring, how do we differentiate from other PV system integrators, is this expertise. We have worked in almost all building related PV applications. So be it walkway, facade, skylight, we have experience. And together with my partner, which is a Japanese MNC, we have more than 200 project execution experience throughout the world. Now, a bit more on the BIPV panels. Typically, this is a blown-up view of a typical PV panel. At the front, there is a glass, and back, there is a glass. The solution that we bring to you is a glass-glass interface. So in between, there are panels and the cells, which are sandwiched between the protective layers here. So ideally, for conventional panel, the glass portion that you see here is a backsheet. So for building, mostly it is glass application. So all our solutions that we work with the stakeholders are glass solutions. Now, the range of power output can be as much as, it's as low as 50, and it can go until 160 watt per meter square. It really depends on upon the application and requirements. I will, in the subsequent slides, I will explain why we have such a big range. And customizable. When I say customizable, we do not have one standard size. Every project is unique. Every project we discuss with our architects, it has different size, sometimes in odd shapes. So we can actually deliver these odd shaped sizes, and we work with the architects, giving them inputs like what is the best efficiency, what is best size for a given size, what is the best possible power output achievable, and how can we optimize this. These interactions go on at least for 1 or 2 years before we do the actual installations at site. So a typical application is facade, like you see here, and balustrade areas, some kind of a canopies that you can put on, and a typical walkways. Interestingly, we have project references, which I'll show in subsequent slides. Now, we can classify BIPV panels into broadly transparent and opaque. When I mention transparent, it is a typical, the square solar cells that we have it here. We call this vision square and vision stripe. So this is kind of a single cell is actually cut into several fragments. The reason is when you apply such panels onto a vision area, you can actually see the outside. There's vision possibility there, which means you can see what is behind. And we have the opaque solutions, wherein the back glass is opaque. So the reason being is we really wanted to come up with a solution that is more giving color matching to the other portion of the buildings. Say, for example, the portion that you see here, it's actually a PV cell. It's an active area. And there are solutions that we'll discuss in subsequent slides wherein it is possible to make certain colored portions alive or active. And the white color patch that you see here, it is actually all powered solar cells. And I've taken one interesting vision stripe application and one opaque solution, and I'll go through the details. And this is actually kind of it looks like a curtain. In Japan, they call it sudare, which is bamboo curtains. So obviously one cell is cut into several smaller sections of 2.5 millimeters. You imagine cutting a 154 cell into 2.5 mm segments. Obviously, there is a trade in there's a loss in overall efficiency, but the purpose is really a vision or light transmission requirement, or vision requirement. If you look at, I'll show you some actual project pictures wherein you can really you can find the difference yourself. And here, the efficiency, we were talking about a power output of 50 to 160, 170 watt peak per meter square. And this is one of the lowest power output per meter square, obviously, when you compare to other transparent PV panels like organic and other things, this is still more efficient. Yeah, so this picture, this is from the inside view. You still have a better, very clear picture on the outside. So this is one big advantage of the solution. And this is another interesting application where we call it ArcLight. This is from AGC Asahi Glass, Japan. And the application will be wall cladding, wherein you can actually get your logos active. This is for a real project application shell. And these logos are actually created by a patented rasterization method. So basically, there's an integrated visual area sandwiched between the front glass and the black glass, and this gives you this customized picture-like effect. So it's really possible to really print out your own designs, your logos, it's any images or even your image. You can bring it to the computer and get your this thing done. Again, this ranges from 100 watt to 100 watt peak per meter square. Why? Because this can be really the pixels inside can be really packed densely to give you a better view, but this gives a compromise in the power output. So based on the distance of your application, the visual distance, we can guide you on how much would be the ideal density package. This is an overall categorization of the transparent and opaque solutions, giving different typical power output per meter square. So obviously, as I mentioned, there is a big range here, and this is the typical CO2 reduction. Actually, you're reducing operational carbon with on-site PV generation. These values are actually taken from Singapore with the emission factor of 0.408 kg carbon dioxide per kilowatt hour. For obviously India, it's more than 0.8, which means your CO2 reduction is much more. And this is one typical project from Chennai. This is the client is actually using this as a rooftop cafeteria. This is again with transparent backsheet, leak proof, but it's a typical canopy application. And this is an ongoing project in Singapore. It's Singapore Institute of Technology. This is we are actually working on this project, and the construction is already started. And we hope to finish this project in June. So after June, I think I can give you some nice actual pictures from the site. And this is something unique that we are also working, and this project is also ongoing. And we will be having some real pictures by July, August. This is, they call this kind of an eco envelope, wherein there is a skylight system and there is a kind of a horizontal fence, horizontal louver fence. It's very challenging because there are different sizes, different transmissions, light transmissions, and so on. And some real case references from our partners here throughout the world. Typical car park applications. And when I said customize, it's really possible to customize on the cell patterns as well. It's not necessary to place all the cells together. You can spread it out depending upon the architectural requirement. But obviously, when you really spread out and have less number of cells, there's a compromise in the power output. And this is a typical, I mentioned the striped striped cells, striped panel, one canopy application for that. And this is Netherlands, ArcLight active in Netherlands. So I guess that's all from my side today.
Thank you very much, Mr. Siva. And it is really good to see several projects having different kind of integration of BIPVs. And we look forward to receiving your support for more and more projects here in India.
Thank you so much.
So we have next speaker, Mr. Hans Tino. He's a country manager from APEC and EMEA Venture Modular Private Limited. Let me have the pleasure to introduce him. So he has specialization in working on mass timber and hybrid steel RE structures. Key focus area is how we can have carbon negative industrialized construction. Over to you, Mr. Hams. You have 10 minutes.
Okay, Raj. So if I may share my screen.
Yes, please.
Yeah. A very good afternoon to one and all. This is Hams. So we are from Ventura Timberwork. So we are a Singapore headquartered business established in '95, and we execute projects globally. We do design, supply, and build, specializing in timber structures. And our business expands across different verticals, right from high-end hospitality projects, especially the resorts, into like multi-story commercial structures using timber, and also like identifying the regional solutions from different places and coming up with large-scale projects in terms of like villas and other categories. So together with our partners, Wahab, over the last 27 years, we have executed 100+ projects globally. So the next step of our expansion, we have like formulated a prefabrication facility in Chennai, in India, where we are catering to our global projects by doing a prefabrication as well as sub-assembly of all the construction materials, like walls and the roof panels get made into prefab cassettes, which will then flat packed and delivered across the globe, especially to our projects. So there is a question that will always rise in people's mind. Why consider prefabrication? And this applies to all the materials. It can be a steel structure, it can be a concrete panel, and it can also apply to our timber structure. So the obvious reasons, as we know, prefabrication is higher speed and also like calculated productivity, and we can use advanced technology in it, and a definite quality assurance is made. And then this overall becomes a cost-efficient solution done in a controlled environment. And then we can use the local resources in it, thereby reducing emissions and also efficiently managing the waste. So these are some of the advantages why we need to take into consideration a prefabrication technique. So here is an interesting case study from our recent project. We have started now delivering and rolling out the cafeteria structures for Shell. So this is a unit we have done recently in Chennai, and this is a 1,000+ square feet structure, which we have done completely using regionally sourced timber materials. And the prefabrication time in our factory we took was less than 14 days. And on-site it went up on a super speed like less than 10 days. And these have been like fully repeatable modules where we have the complete solution capable to deliver and install in any remote locations. So when it comes to the timber structure, we always calculate timber as a negative carbon component. So the overall, for example, this shell structure, if we do a total carbon analysis, the overall carbon capture in it is 34 metric tons of carbon. And excluding all the production as well as the logistics carbon emissions, which is approximately 17 metric tons, we still have a net benefit of 18 metric tons. This is a very high number, and it's approximately equal to 50,000 miles of a passenger car driven for approximately 4 years of time. And this is also equivalent to powering up electricity for 4 homes for a period of 1 full year. So these are all like statistics from the US government greenhouse emission gas calculator. So as you can see, this carbon emission of 18 metric tons equals to various parameters like powering 4 houses and also like driving around car for 4 years for 50,000 miles. So here is the future, like why we need to wood. So we at Ventura Timberwork are focused on like bringing in more the technology into picture so that people can understand the benefits out of it. Say, for example, if we go and talk to a common people, like they need to switch to a timber structure without compelling reasons, they will not be able to adapt to it. So we combine it with technology, like we put together like QR codes and barcode scanners so that people scanning on a QR code at the entry of our building can see like where that particular timber was sourced from. And also we are expanding now into a technology where we will put on a barcode on each timber component, where people scanning on it will see the exact amount of carbon stored in it, so that it is beneficial to any end user, like accessing the structure. It can be a public building, like museums and artworks, where people coming in after like hundreds of years just scan on a timber structure and then on a QR code, and they know exactly what is the total carbon stored within it. So only when users understand the benefit out of it, they will be able to switch to a better technology and obviously choose a better component. So, and we have been recently working out with a lot of agencies like the Aga Khan Agency for Habitat in terms of developing affordable solutions that can be rolled out to mass markets, and also like adopting the European techniques in terms of design and engineering, and also into rolling out the mass engineered timber options. And of course, like for the shell structures, we have been sourcing timber out of India and then coming up with regional solutions. So what this all means is like a very less logistics, and thereby cutting down all the relative emissions that is associated with too much back and forth. And also when we go for a local solution, it is very convenient thing. Like for example, India is a place where it is rich in blue metals like concrete and steel. So our goal is always to hybridize the structure. Thereby we do not have to like push something that is not essential. So this is how we cater into different markets. And also we work, being a Singaporean company, we work relatively on establishing testings, like certifications, and also coming up with products like the fire retardant coatings, like to cater to the fear of people, and then make them switch to this renewable and then low carbon solution of timber structures. So these are some of our structures we have done recently. So it varies from a very large format mass timber, European glulam and CLT timber, up until like the recently completed units in India, like using laminated veneer lumber. So there are different options, like combined with proper engineering and technology, we will be able to cater globally this like carbon negative solutions of making people switch into a more greener, more low carbon solution of using timber. I thank here like Enterprise Singapore and also CII, IGBC for giving this opportunity, and I'm open to questions at the end of this session. Thanks.
So Ams, thank you very much for taking us through timber technologies, which can be used for negative built environment now. And we are running slightly behind the time. I will immediately introduce our next speaker, Mr. Eric Low, Business Development from VFlow Technology. Eric Liu manages business development at VFlow, and he brings more than 25 years of rich experience in technology leadership, along with the strong understanding of smart building, renewable energy, and storage technologies. Over to you, Mr. Eric. Please unmute. Mr. Eric, we are not able to hear you. Still not.
Can you hear me?
I think. Can you please try again?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear now. Please go ahead.
Okay. Okay. Allow me to just introduce myself. My name is Eric. I'm from VFlow Tech. First thing, good afternoon to everybody, and thank you very much for IBGC as well as Enterprise Singapore allowing me to be here and to present regarding to and share a bit of knowledge regarding to our technology and know-how. So today the topic, I'm also on the energy storage space. So we're addressing more onto the net zero energy as well as net zero carbon, particularly to building sustainability, so to speak. So a little bit about today. Probably you understood that we spoke about, some of the speaker has also shared about today, renewable is the cheapest source of generations. And the next decade growth will be impeded if it does not plug together with energy storage. And when we mentioned about energy storage, earlier on we also had some speaker mention about use case in terms of the buildings and smart building application. It's not just a storage per se, but a long duration storage that will curtail many of the renewable intimacy and any other kind of experiences between grids and stability. So here, VivoTech gained through a lot of innovation prior to the setting up about 10 years ago, whereby they innovate and research extensively into the chemistry called the flow battery. It's a renewable kind of green technology, providing a long duration energy storage to drive current demands of the renewable demand. So to run through where is the right applications for us, especially in a building, a smart building. Today we have many use cases, one of which is a building that we have installed, a CleanTech one, which has been nominated by BCA in Singapore as a green building. So flow battery characteristic, you could see that we are the only one, in fact, in Singapore, energy storage they're able to install and deploy in the gen room next to the generator. So you can see behind the blue man is the 2 times 100 kVA backup generator from buildings. So the battery is charged up from the rooftop solar and energy discharged to the load in the common corridor, as well as the EV charging station in the car park. So many such smart building is developing in such kind of scenario, a mix of renewable resources, a mix of green energy storage to educate for the growth, not just the increasing building load, tenants load, but at the same time of the coming EV adoption load as well. So the beauty over here is that we have a whole full turnkey solution, providing our energy storage based on flow battery chemistry, at the same time riding on our AI platform. And this platform is energy management, which is able to curtail for any peak load penalties or maximum demand penalties that be incurred to any customer. For example, if suddenly the labs in this building turn on with heavy loads, this EMS will be able to turn on the supply from battery to the load access load requirement without incur any maximum penalty. The same platform also can be integrated to any energy management dashboard via common protocol, Modbus or CAN bus, that you could also integrate as part of the distributed resources in grid scale. So having said so, what's so good about this chemistry, so-called flow battery? So we focus in vanadium flow battery. Vanadium is the 15 most available element on Earth, and it has the best recyclable cycle time, meaning to say it can actually have more than 10,000 cycles over the whole lifespan. So giving a duration of over 25 years. So no other solid battery storage could actually able to cater for such a kind of a long duration. So the chemistry is nothing much but the redox and oxidation taking place over the power stack, with the vanadium electrolyte going pumping to the power stack, whereby electrons is released as energy and stored as a backup. So this repetitive of discharging cycle can be over 10,000 times. It's a super safe kind of chemistry, whereby radically can gain approval for many fire safety in terms of building deployment. All the parts that in the flow battery is 100% recyclable, automatically contribute to ESG during the decommissioning time. So likewise, I just mentioned about 25 years lifespan is one of the criteria. What's special on here is that we have built in a very tremendous effort in terms of the research and design. We actually fabricate a power stack, which is readiness in our chemistry that can be used for fuel cell application as well. It's about 25% higher density than any other competitions in terms of flow chemistry. We also able to, we invented or patented organic IPs, which allowed our flow batteries to operate in a very extensive wind operating temperature, right? From -5 up to 5 degrees Celsius. So our energy storage has been deployed in many geography, including Africa region, including Western Australia, and even from earthquake Tokyo in Japan. So coupled with all the IoT enabled, so our battery can be very much intelligent that can couple together with your building management system in terms of distributed energy resources or energy management. So you will also understand reading along the line lately, 2021, Google has actually decided not to build a data center in Belgium and they spent over $600 million in the solar farm, including the battery storage. And this is where many buildings will be moving across into renewable dependency with a net zero kind of mission. And energy storage like with Vanadium Flow were able to contribute a big chunk or big part towards the energy transition for smart building. So we have other use case beyond just the building. Theoretically, we have many microgrids in an islanded mode that theoretically should power with a diesel genset or any other carbon rated kind of generations. We are able to transform it to a total green coupled with renewable source of generation being where solar or wind, and provide autonomy of almost a day or two kind of power across islanded kind of loads. So another use case such as a big refinery, whereby we actually customize the oil tanks into storage of electrolyte that can increase and scale as into a megawatt hour or even to gigawatt hours. So we have successfully gained kind of a presence in terms of this type of gigawatt scale kind of application projects. The next thing is that we probably understood the next era will be EV adoptions is going exponential. The use case is very prominent. Today, there's more than EVs adopters than ever in the last 5 years. And we see that there will be an immediate needs in terms of the grid assets to actually improve to actually cater for this extra load for EV charging station. So flow battery actually give you a very high availability as well as a long durations to charge or transform the traditional gas station to an EV charging station together with our flow battery. So having said that, just a few glimpses of some of the product that we have shipped. This is a 100 kilowatt hour system, fully automated. As I mentioned, we have a fully HMI interface which allows you to servicemen to be on site, as well as you plugged in kind of data GPRS. You can actually automate by sitting into managing in our AI cloud platform as well. So some of the market tractions beyond what I just mentioned about the project in the Pure Station, we have many use case deployments in smart buildings in Australia, in Singapore, and many other regions. So together, we also participate with green energy import, and in any green energy import, every last mile, you definitely require multiples of a gigawatt size of energy storage. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions in later on my session. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Rick. I think this is one of the best technologies amongst energy storage that is almost essential for every project to get integrated. Otherwise, it is very difficult to get net zero energy or carbon neutral status. So thank you for your presentation. Now we will invite the last speaker, Mrs. Roxy Wang, who is at Wahua Private Limited, Business Development Manager. Nikita, can you please share the screen? Nikita, please share the screen. I think she is having some problem. Okay, so Mrs. Roxy Wang would make a presentation on how waste can be converted into wealth and how this problem can be addressed at project level or a campus level or a city level with regard to waste can be used into energy and waste can be used into the product. So Roxy has more than 10 years of experience with regard to renewable energy as well as environmental industry, and primarily she would speak how waste can be converted into energy as well as product. And this company has wide variety of solutions. These are specifically designed for a campus level project to a city level. Over to you, Mr. Roxy Wang.
Hi everyone. Finally, it's my turn. I hope everyone is still awake, not too late, knowing that we are running out of time. So I'll try to make our conversation and presentation slightly faster, but give me a minute. I'm still trying to figure out how do I make my screen. Oh, okay, I saw it. Can everyone see my screen now?
Yes, Roxy, we are able to see it. Please make it on presentation mode and please go ahead.
Just 1 second. Okay, so my company is called Hua Private Limited. We are a homegrown Singapore company. So we have been serving the Singapore market for more than 40 years. Basically, we are doing waste management, recycling, and also providing waste management and recycling services, and as well as some technologies in terms of waste management and zero waste facility. So first, I think most of the countries, especially in Southeast Asia, are having difficulties on the landfill solutions. And waste management are not really properly done in Southeast Asia, especially I know that some of the countries like Malaysia, Indonesia, there are waste management systems and there are waste management equipments, but I would say benchmark with Singapore, Singapore are still doing a much better job in terms of the technologies. So what we are doing in Singapore on the waste management and recycling is we are using smart technologies like our smart trucks and even gadgets installed on the truck like solar panels, and there's a load cell system that will capture waste that is being taken and collected from every customer or even every household. And when we dispose of, we will get the data as well. So we have the big data in terms of the weighing system and different type of waste. And we also have softwares that will improve nationwide recycling, I would say, practice, such as we have this app that you can download and register yourself. And whenever you have recyclables, or even if you want to trade off some of your electronic devices, you can just log into the app and say, okay, hey, I take a picture and give an indicative price. So whoever, or like waste collectors or even somebody else, they would like to buy your secondhand equipments, people can just use the app as a platform and to purchase. So this will definitely reduce waste and improve the recycling percentage in Singapore. And not only the waste management collection site, we also have recycling technologies using the multi-material recovery facility and some technologies to automatic sort waste into treasure, like paper and different type of plastics, even aluminum can, metals and wood, that whichever have higher value, we will treat it or even make into new products. So plastics with higher value, which everybody knows, and plastic recycling, which is also the hottest topic in this 1-2 years. So everyone wants to recycle plastics, and plastic pelletizing is actually mechanical recycling is actually a very mature technology in Europe, in US, and some developed countries. So what we are doing is we are using our higher value plastics that will make into high value resins. So these resins can again be made into new products or recycling products, or mixed with virgin materials that can remake into PET bottles or plastic shopping bags. So we provide technology, we provide know-how. If there's someone looking for solutions like in Malaysia or in India, we can definitely reach out them and teach them how to do so. And those with lower value plastics, like more contaminated plastics, we are also working with partners. So these plastics we will again run into our priority system and make into oil. These oils are there's no pollution, and this entire system is a closed loop system. So dirty plastics, even without washing or shredding, can be fed into the equipment. So the equipment has different sizes, capacity, varies from few kg to even 10 times or 20 times a day. And through this system, all the plastic will be converted into a very pure version of diesel, and these diesels can be used directly feed into your diesel trucks or forklifts. So this again will also close the plastic loop. And then those with too contaminated, or I would say some biomass, papers, the remaining, those who, because we will recycle whatever we can recycle, extract whatever we can extract, but those remaining, we have the technology to turn it into renewable energy. So this waste to energy technology, we are working with our Chinese European partners. They have more than 200 plants over worldwide. So Europe, US, China, Southeast Asia, Vietnam. So with this technology, whatever waste that we have, even household waste, we can just feed into the feeder. It's a grid system, using grid system through combustion. So we will generate, again, the technology will generate electricity. Renewable energy will feed to our plant again. And the excess we can sell to the Singapore markets, or even like if we replicate this model in Malaysia or in India, the town or small town or village people can use the electricity. So that's sort of kind of close the loop, because in Singapore there's no landfill allowed. Only combustion ashes, like from the waste to energy plant, bottom ash, or even the fly ash, only ashes can go to the landfill. So how we achieve that is through waste to energy plants. So I think this model, our model, we will call it circular economy or zero waste facility. So with this chain of technology, I think if there's a town looking for developers, or if there's industry town looking for waste management companies to help them find a solution of how to manage their waste, I think our company can definitely go there as a consultant, or even become an investor to work with the governments or local partners. So that's my presentation. If there's any questions regarding my presentation, to drop me an email or text me after the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Roxy. I think it is really interesting, and there are many corporates. Those are going to adopt the net zero landfill concepts. We are working with more than 20-25 projects. Those have already enrolled for zero waste to landfill, and we would require your more and more support. What could be the business model for these corporates to go for zero waste to landfill? Thank you very much. So we received a couple of questions. Yeah. Nikita, just a moment. So someone has asked, like, what could be the life of redox batteries? So Eric, are you there? Mr. Eric, are you there? Okay, then we will take at the last. So now we have the last session, which is scheduled for this session, to get more and more attraction from the Indian corporates, how they can convert their project into net zero with regard to energy, water, zero waste to landfill, and finally achieving the net zero carbon or carbon neutrality for their projects. We are really happy, and it is our pleasure and privilege to have Dr. C. Velan, who is the city head for Chennai operations, CapitaLand India, and he is also the chairman of IGBC Education Committee. He has over 30 years of rich experience in all the blue chip Indian and overseas companies. Happy to mention you that Mr. Velan is working with IGBC from last 15 years, and currently he is the chairman of Green Education, which is very important verticals with regard to knowledge dissemination, going to industry to academics, as well as the real implementation of green concepts. Over to you, Mr. Velan, and we are really happy to have you for this session.
Thank you very much, Shivraj, and really appreciate it. Thank you once again. After listening to the presenters who have been providing various technologies in net zero component, I'm also happy to share, probably to break the monotony they brought me inside, it seems at this point of time, to share some of the experiences what we have with respect to implementation of those technologies, what you people were presenting. I just share quickly a few slides, and I just want to name it actually as a walk the talk kind of name. Why I say this? Because CapitaLand, we all know, one of the major players in the real estate. I'm just trying for the full screen mode. I don't know, you got it? Full screen? No.
No, sir, it has not.
Try 1 minute. Yes. So CapitaLand, most of the Singaporean technology providers who presented just now, maybe knowing about CapitaLand, we are the leading, Asia's leading developers in terms of real estate. And we predominantly, get into all segments of real estate. So I just touch it upon commercial real estate to start with, because that is the major consumer of power, water, and all those things we all know. The CapitaLand, in a nutshell, they are committed for sustainability in whatever business we do, and it is also up to the level of CEO of the group. The sustainability is that is attached to his KPI. So that means it is very serious, and it is the forefront of everything we do. So we focus in this presentation 3 areas. The sustainability targets, for all our group companies across globe. We focus on various factors, ESG, but you talk about only 3 areas today. that is low carbon transmission, water conservation, and waste management. See, basically in these three areas, we are committed at various levels, which I am not going to details now, but you can understand from the website itself. We also do, some of the presenters today probably would have come across, we also conduct year on year the sustainability challenge kind of competition, wherein we used to have 30 companies we used to select, and out of which 10 companies used to present to the leadership team, and those 30 things will be are usually uploaded in our this one, and whichever country wants to use that kind of innovation projects, they can able to implement those things across our projects. That is how we do it. In a few of the projects which I'm going to share are of those kind of things which we chose as innovative projects. We group this challenge into 4 components: low carbon transition, and then water conservation, waste, and health and safety building. In these 4 categories, we conduct this year on year. So leave aside that. So we highlight 2 parts. One is that existing buildings, how do we narrow down to net zero, and whatever the new buildings we design and construct, how we will be going for net zero. These are the 2 aspects I'm going to highlight. In the existing buildings also, we are trying to go for net zero by means of adopting all these initiatives. If you look at it here, all are the energy saving measures. We used to go for district cooling system, we used to go for magnetic chillers, rooftop, all those things are being implemented to bring down the energy consumption from whatever we are today to say approximately about 10 to 15% in year-on-year basis. Likewise, water, we also introduce smart water metering, smart irrigation system, water fixtures. All those matters also reduces the water consumption. Now I am going to go with the 2 projects which we have chosen in the competition. The sustainable challenge I was talking about. One is that vertical axis wind turbine. This is that one which we have we are being right now implementing at our Pune project, where one of our innovation presenters brought in this product. We found it very interesting because it is 15 kilowatt also we can use to have, we can have these turbines which will produce energy and which we will be using it for the campus, and which is easily installable at the terrace level or wherever we want. This particular thing I just want to highlight for many developers, if at all they are there in the call. This is one interesting thing which we can try it out anywhere. See, generally wind turbines are considered to be 1 megawatt, 2 megawatt, 4 megawatt like that. Whereas you can even go for 15 kilowatt, 30 kilowatt kind of axis rotate, kind of vertical axis wind turbines, which is what we are implementing in our Pune project. The second one is smart irrigation system which is IoT based, which some of the presenters also made the representation on this, which is also very interesting, very handy for implementing in our existing and new projects. And then third one is again the detailed one is there. Then waste. The circular economy is, is very, very interesting. Besides the organic waste recycling, inorganic waste recycling is also done at the campus itself. This is what we have implemented in Bangalore, wherein we are recycling the entire inorganic waste into usable products like these bins and other things. The next one is this. I leave it for a moment. I just go quickly. In new projects, what we implement actually is that we went for all 3 categories of net zero. One of the interesting projects in Chennai Radial Road, thanks to IGBC, they have come across, given enough of learning for us, whereby this 2.6 million of phase 1, phase 2 alone, site 1 on the left side, we have gone for this net zero in the design intent level itself. This is the first project for CapitaLand. We have gone for net zero for all 3 categories. How do you go towards net zero carbon in our company? I just want to highlight, first step is go for green certification at platinum level. Step 1. Step 2, attempt for net zero, all the 3 categories. And after that, focusing on embodied carbon, material of use, and all other matters, you target about net zero carbon. If you go straight away net zero carbon, many corporates, many companies may not be able to achieve that. To motivate the system, we go step-by-step approach. Now we have completed the step 2, now targeting on going for net zero carbon level. This is what we have done, the pre-certification for all 3 categories net zero. Just quickly go for How do we do that? Only 1 minute, Shivaraj. What we do is we look at it energy optimization measures. One is that. Second is that passive energy saving measures like a design of the building and choosing of equipment. Besides, we go for renewable power. All those things are helping us to go for net zero in all categories. I also want to introduce some of the speakers highlighted about digital twin. It is very interesting to implement in any of these projects, whereby not only your design efficiency, BIM modeling, but also on the operational twin, which helps on the facility management side. So for the developers and the technology providers, look at it. We are all there, all developers in India are looking at technologies, what you have presented. Reach out to the developers, leading developers, including CapitaLand. We welcome you to support us and to support on the whole for the environment. Thank you very much. I'm open for any questions in the later part. I'm sorry, I know that you are coming in the frame to close the conversation. Thank you very much, Shivaraj. All the very best to everybody.
Okay, so sir, thank you very much. It was really wonderful to have you for this particular session, and having CapitaLand, because by default you have implemented this concept for your assets, several projects in India, including Bangalore, Chennai for net zero energy, net zero water, and also going for zero waste to landfill, which is like net zero waste. And we really appreciate your effort, because you improved the performance of these buildings by adopting the green principles, so that you are very close to the zero part, and then also having the renewable portion significantly for these projects. So we are extremely happy to have you, and I think we need more and more leaders, more and more pioneers like you to lead and to transform the building sector and achieving the net zero. So I think there are not enough words to thank all the attendees. They joined at about 2 o'clock. Still more than 30 attendees we have. We got really good response from all the stakeholders, all the corporates for this particular collaboration of Enterprise Singapore and CII IGBC. We have a couple of programs which are pre-scheduled in the month of Feb, as well as into in March. So these 12 companies today, they made a very brief presentation to showcase their technologies, solutions which can suit the requirement of net zero for all 4 verticals. So we are really thankful to these 12 companies for their participation. And next session would be scheduled on 12th April, which is again a virtual session. And there we listen more and more about business models for net zero for all the 4 verticals. Our B2B session is scheduled on 15th Feb. If you are really interested to have discussion with these companies or any of the companies, please try to approach my colleague Nikita or myself. We have already shared the contact details, and we will support you to penetrate these solutions to your project with regard to net zero. Last but not the least, we are really grateful to Enterprise Singapore for supporting this particular program and having most of the sophisticated technologies from Singapore for the betterment of the country and achieving the target and aspiring for net zero for several Indian corporates. If you have anything which we have missed or we have not covered, we have not touched upon, please try to approach us and we will be happy to support you. And Velan sir, it was really pleasure to have you today, and we need you for most of the sessions to have better and better interaction with all these companies with regard to some of the transformation which can lead the project to become net zero. Thank you everyone, and we formally close our session here. We are really sorry we were 10 minutes delayed throughout the session. It happened just because of some technical glitch in the beginning. Thank you everyone and have a nice day. Thank you my colleague Nikita, Manisha and Yasin for supporting this activity for net zero. Thank you everyone, and we close the session here.